Hello, First Rescue. So in this lesson, I'm going to be teaching on Come Live With Me and Be My Love by Professor Marlowe. Christopher Marlowe, that is. I apologize. And the anticipatory set is we're hopefully going to read through the poem first for comprehension, but we need to go back and do the procession of the seasons because we didn't quite finish it yesterday. Okay. I already started this, so I just
Okay.
if you need help,
So you can hear it all?
if you would like to, it's up to you.
I'll say it. Oh my gosh, just want to be extra pressure. You believe some of the pressure. I do not.
Not good at anything.
You're not gonna edit it? Edit it?
Takes time.
I'll do it. I'll do it. So I'm gonna edit
4 o'clock today.
it. Before? Oh my gosh. Okay. Sure. 4 o'clock? Yes. Yeah. Okay. There's a camera. What are we doing? Look at the camera. Smile at the camera. You actually. Yes. That's it. This is the first time I come to class and
There's something on the board. You guys are terrible.
Yeah.
This is the first time you've ever prepared.
Listen that shit about me. Wow, this is on the record. Wow, you actually have notes? Wow.
Check out how much. Yeah. Look at all those notes.
Surprising, isn't it? Wow. Let's look at, wait, because before the night of next
They can close the door.
give a circle and a word or something.
You see. So, yesterday we did not finish Procession of the Seasons, correct?
Yes.
Yes, that is correct. So, we're going to go back over and finish it really quick before we move on to the poem that I gave you guys yesterday. So, Procession of the Seasons, we got through spring and summer, right? So in spring, we noticed that our man, as he's personified, has a javelin, and he's lusty, right? He's lusty. He is young, sexually driven.
I'm sure you can see that.
And then in summer, he moved on to having a bow, right? And so he wasn't warlike anymore. He moved on to just having a bow and looking for hunting. He's hunting. And he's still very strong, right? Still probably middle-aged, very strong, but he gets tired, right? His bones get sore and he has to bathe. So we're going to move on, right, to the autumn. Then came the autumn, and all in yellow clad, as though he joyed in his plenteous store, laden with fruits that made him laugh full glad, that he had banished hunger, which tofore had by the belly oft pinched him sore. Upon his head a wreath that was enrolled with ears of corn of every sort he bore, and in his hand a sickle he did hold to reap and ripen fruits for which the earth had fuel. So what's different between the summer and the autumn? What's changed now?
Violent.
It's not about, right? He's not hunting anymore, right? He's
Harvesting.
right? He's
The
harvesting.
fruits of labor.
You have to harvest to find.
Right, so it's even less physically demanding, right? It's less, I think, what was the word that you just used?
Less violent.
Less violent, yes. It's less violent. Right, so because he's at war first, he's killing people, then he's killing animals, and now he's moved on to plants.
I
So
feel
there's
like
a
he's
different
like
dynamic.
he's like 40s, 50s, kind of like, no, life's been good, I worked really hard, now I go. He's ready to retire.
He's ready to retire.
Or thing.
And then also, I think you
Big Brian.
guys mentioned yesterday, harvest time. What does harvest and the sickle connote? What are some connotations?
Coming of winter.
Yeah, coming of winter, or no,
Yeah.
sickle death, right? Because the Grim Reaper has a sickle. So there's those. Death is coming,
I said
right?
that last
Sight-
time you left.
I did not. So the sickle is coming, right? He's aging. He's aging. And then we move on to winter, right? And then we move on to winter for the last one. Lastly came winter, clothed all in freeze, chattering his teeth for cold that did him chill, whilst on his hoary beard did breath, his breath did freeze and dull drops from his purple bill. As from Limbeck did it down to still, and his right hand tipped, staff he held, with his feeble steps he stayed still, for he was faint with cold and weak with health, that scarce his loose limbs was he able to yield. And so what do we notice that's different in this one?
It's not even the West, well, it can't be, but it's the
It's an old, yeah, it's not necessarily a white beard, it's an old. Yeah, he has a staff. Why would you need a staff?
This is old and frail.
Because he's old, right? You need a staff to
Wait,
hold
where
you up.
does it say staff?
The fourth line from the bottom.
Oh.
And it even talks about, right, feeble steps, right? Feeble steps. He was faint. He was cold and weak with eld. Eld meaning elderly, right? So he's extremely old at this point. So he's not fighting anymore, right? He's not hunting anymore. He's not even harvesting. What is he doing?
Walking.
Yeah, not even walking, right?
It's barely living.
Feeble steps, he stayed still. He can hardly even walk,
With
right?
feeble steps, you move.
Feeble, right? He's hardly,
He's hardly living. Moving.
he's hardly living, right? He's obviously dying.
It's like we're like, hey, the death face off.
What was that? Right, and so, and then there's the connotations of the white beard, there's the beard, right? It's all frozen because he's so cold. His teeth are teeth are chattering. Tattering cheek.
Cheater pattern.
Teeter tattering. So the seasons are used by, should I remember who it is? It's Edmund Spencer. So Edmund Spencer is using the seasons to describe the progression of life, right? And death, right? And death. Why is this a bad metaphor?
It's not.
A bad metaphor?
So this is really good, right? He's done so many good things to personify the way our life is like the seasons. No, just why is it, where does it break down, the metaphor?
Spring starts.
Spring starts again, right? Spring starts again. Perfect. That seasons are cyclical, right? But life is not cyclical, right? It's cyclical. Repeat, repeating back. Cycle, cyclical. Repeating back itself. I'm not just making up words.
Wait, cyclical?
Cyclical.
Just example.
Cyclical.
Cyclical.
Cyclical, meaning in a cycle.
So the seasons are better because there's
No,
No, I'm just saying he's just using a metaphor that's cyclical in nature to describe something that is not. So that's where it just breaks down. It's still a good metaphor, right? It just breaks down. Because all metaphors will break down.
Unless he believes in reincarnation.
True.
Whoa,
You
that
find-
was like a whole new
You
thing.
find where the text tells me that he
She
believes
totally
in.
does, but that's actually a whole new, because
It
just
does.
as his medicine is a cycle, you know what happens after winter? New life. You stole that.
So, come live with me and be my love. You guys have that right? So we finished your Edmund Spencer.
He's not a farmer, he's a shepherd.
Yeah. You should have told us about the camera, you should have just stated it here.
How do I hide?
I wouldn't have noticed it.
You're smart enough to question.
So, do you guys all want to say hi to Professor Meshke? You can do
I
that.
feel really
Hi, Professor Meshke.
Professor.
Abby's been around to say hi.
She's not as awkward as she pretends to be.
So come
I'm not, I am on camera.
Yeah.
She's on camera.
Back here, come with me and my love, with Christopher Marlowe. We're going to read through the first time, just for comprehension, just like we've always done. First time through, just for comprehension. There are 5, so there's 6. Does anyone want to take a double? We'll just start with Abby.
Come live with me and be my love, and we will all the pleasures prove that valleys, groves, hills and fields, woods or sea do mountains yield.
And we will set a kind of rock, seeing the shepherds feed their flocks by shallow rivers to whose falls melodious birds and their
And I will make thee bed of roses, 1,000 fragrant roses, a cap of flowers. embroidered all with leaves of myrtle.
A gown made of our finest wool, which from our pretty lambs we pull. Fair lined slippers for the cold, with buckles of the purest gold.
A belt of straw and ivy buds, with coral clasps and amber studs. And if these pleasures may be moved, come live with me and be my love.
The shepherd's swain shall dance and sing for thy delight each May morning. If these delights thy mind may move, then live with me and be my food. So,
But you,
Yeah, it kind of makes you want to do that.
be my mood.
Yeah, it's the same with
Move my
the
mood.
both of them.
Or maybe it's move my load.
right, it's not perfect.
Or
Right, it's not
move my
perfect.
love.
So, comprehension, what is happening in the poem?
Can I close that window? I feel like we'll be able to hear a conversation because there's a lot of chatter.
No, like the light.
We do like that. It'll be fun. So,
How long do you think it'll take for this video to upload?
those are irrelevant questions. What is the poem about? Comprehension. Just
Love.
Yes,
That's
it's-
just me.
It's asking someone to like marry him.
It's about
maybe Mary.
It's about
I don't know, make a gown.
Come
Out of her
with me.
finest
It's about
wool.
shepherd.
Guys,
I want to lay you down on a bed of roses.
This is the
okay.
Let's kill him.
I don't know if laying down in a bed of roses implies marriage or just sex.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
You just
So-
ruined my whole romantic fever.
It says come live with me. First line.
You don't have to be married to live with somebody.
Fair enough. But in the time period, it was more likely that they would.
Everything is
It's about this guy. He has humble income, humble living. He's a shepherd, but he said, because of my love, I'm going to give you all the stuff
Tell me
all that I
about
can.
that.
It's just gonna be like riches.
Yes, that's a good point, Lily. Another name for this poem is from a passionate shepherd. That's another name for this poem. And that's by Christian. And so does that change?
Does that have anything like biblical connotations? Because the shepherd's like, I don't know.
Well, it doesn't seem like there's biblical
No.
connotations in this.
Seeing the shepherd feed their flock.
It doesn't really seem like there are biblical connotations, even though it is referencing shepherd. So the title suggests who is the one that's giving the narration.
Christopher.
It's a shepherd, right? It's from a passionate shepherd, indicating that a shepherd is the one that's doing this, right? That's what our new title would indicate. And who's the audience? Who's the audience?
Build Butler.
Yeah, Paul. Good. I think so. Basically, it's a shepherd giving a plea that I will provide some freedom. Yeah, let's read it again. But this time, you want to notice the things. Take note of the things that make you go, "Wow, that's different." Right? What are those things that stand out to you in this second?
I messed up rhyming.
This time.
Come live with me and be my love, and we will all the pleasures prove. That valleys, groves, hills, and fields, woods, or steepy mountain peaks.
And we will sit upon the rocks, and the shepherds feed their flocks by shout flood wind. Rivers, to whose falls melodious birds sing my laws.
And I will make thee beds of roses, and 1,000 fragrant houses, and happy flowers, and a kirtle, embroidered all with leaves of myrtle.
I can see it. A gown made of our finest wool, which from our pretty lambs we pull. Fair lined slippers for the cold, with buckles of the purest gold.
Oh, belts of straw and ivy buds with coral clasps and amber studs, and if these pleasures may be moved, then come live with me and be my blue.
The shepherd's swain shall dance and sing for thy delight each May morning. And if these delights thy mind may move, then live with me, be my love.
Okay, see?
It's really easy to say.
So difficult.
You want to say move,
Then live with me
Like
and
the
be my
armies.
love.
So, in that reading, what are the things that stand out?
The buckles of pure gold.
Okay, buckles.
If he's a shepherd, he'd be poor.
I'm so glad you guys picked up on that. Buckles of
Thinking
gold.
of, like, dandelions.
Buckles of gold, and then kind of like shepherd, right? Shepherd. Buckles of gold.
What is that?
What are other things that
Oh,
stand
there's
out?
stanza.
That's a great question, right? That's one of our starting questions that you could write a thesis paper on. What's something else? Other things that stand out.
There's other,
Going into the shepherd wealthy thing.
Which one? Where's that?
there's other ones, like,
There's other things that imply that he's wealthy or trying to.
Yeah, there's plenty. So there's this contrast between shepherd and wealth, right? There's this contrast. What are other things that stand out?
Like, we will sit upon the rock seeing the shepherds feed their flocks. It's weird because you think they're the shepherd, but it's like, what?
Right, why does he disassociate himself from the shepherds, right?
he's superior. Where's that?
Second stanza.
Don't write my note.
Is that the second stanza? Yeah, seeing the shepherds feed their flocks. And then also in the last stanza, the shepherd swains shall dance and sing, right? Not referring to himself, right? Unlike in the fourth stanza where he puts a we in there, right? He incorporates himself, a gown of the finest wool from which our pretty lambs we pull, right? We. There's an association.
So they both will be shepherds?
Very romantic.
No. No, he's associating himself there with shepherds, but in other places he says third person instead of
When he
first.
says we, I thought he was talking about him and loving.
No.
Because
Maybe.
and we will sit upon the rocks.
Where's and we will sit upon
That's
the
second
rocks.
stanza, we will sit upon the rocks, seeing the shepherds feed their flock.
Interesting, so you think the we in the fourth one is associating with the lover.
Yeah,
So she would also be a shepherd then, pulling
well,
wool.
no.
Maybe.
Because if the narrator is the shepherd and he's writing to the lover,
Maybe sure he is.
we.
Maybe she's a shepherd too. Maybe.
Yeah.
And would that make sense why things of wealth might be important? If she's also a shepherd, if she were a shepherdess?
We can make this whole dramatic backstory.
How do we know it's a she?
Is it to a nymph?
You- It's not a.
Well, you
There's-
brought that
there-
every other poem.
Fair- no.
What?
There's only one other one.
You didn't
And
actually say she.
there
I
are.
know, I noticed that too.
Fair enough.
And a shepherd is a man's profession,
Right, but we don't know that she is a shepherd.
okay?
That's just something that you.
She's not even.
Always homosexuality, mythologies.
It doesn't appear that this poem is homosexual, does it? But I think you have picked up on something, right? It's extremely ambiguous, right? It's ambiguous who this is even referring to. Ambiguity
Is that,
of audience.
is that always a good thing in poetry?
Wait, not necessarily.
Well, the other ones, right? The other poems that we've been reading.
Wait, and what is that?
Ambiguity. I
I don't think so.
But
Sorry.
try.
Okay, ambiguity.
So the ambiguity in this poem is different than a lot of the other ones, right? Because a lot of the other poems that we've been reading, there are specific events, right? Especially in Sonnet 31 that I know you guys wrote on, he recalls a specific event of we were together and she said this particular thing, right? Said this particular thing because a very specific event. This is going to someone specific. There are no specific events in
Wait,
this
was
poem,
that
right?
sonnet 31?
That was Sonnet 31, yes. With Sir Philip Sidney. You
Yeah.
guys wrote it.
Yeah.
He was remembering a very particular event. This one, there are no particular events, right?
Wait, wasn't that the other one with the, no?
No.
Talking about open doors.
So there's the ambiguity of the audience. Great. Any other things?
There's a lot of flowers.
It's kind of a mix between the
What's-
wealthy and
what's
natural,
major?
like a wool dress, a straw, or is it straw?
Okay, so a mix of natural and wealth.
Hyperbole. What's major bells?
Madrigal is a song. It's a hot. Anything else?
There's flowers, there's fragrant, rosy, there's roses.
Okay, fair enough. Let's read it again. This time, Becca, can you start?
Come live with me and be my love, and we will all pleasures prove that valleys, groves, hills, and fields, woods or steepy mountain ranges.
And we will sit upon the rocks, seeing the shepherds feed their flocks by shallow rivers, to whose falls melodious birds sing madrigals.
And I will make thee beds of roses, and 1,000 fragrant posies, a cap of flowers and a kirtle, embroidered with all with leaves of myrtle.
A gown made of our finest wool, which from our pretty lambs we pull. Fair lined slippers for the cold, with buckles of the purest gold.
A belt of strong ivy buds with coral clasps and amber studs, and if these pleasures may thee move, come live with me and be my love.
The shepherd's swain shall dance and sing, for thy delight which made morning. And these delights thy mind may live, they live with me and be my love.
Great. Yes,
He does the love and move thing, or prove, 3 times.
3 times. Okay. That's something, so that's something that you're noticing again?
Sure.
Repetition in lines.
Yeah.
And the messed up one.
So now I want you guys to think about what questions do you have about this text? One of them you already had was the shepherd thing, right? A shepherd with buckles of gold. That's a great one. What are some other questions you have?
Why is he mixing? Why is he mixing so much of nature into it? Like clothes, roses.
So are you asking about intent?
Yeah, flowers, lots of nature things involved.
So, because, why is that a problem? Why is that a question? That's what I'm. Is there another way you could? Because wouldn't our assumption be he's talking about nature because he's a shepherd, right? The shepherds are out in nature. Is that a fair answer to that?
No, but caps don't necessarily have to be made by flowers. Dresses aren't, yeah, dresses aren't usually made with leaves.
Okay, so
Why is he doing that?
let's phrase that, like, ask the question in a different way.
Why does he use
Apostrophes and just the quotes one.
The association of natural elements with, especially attire that are.
Great, okay, so the natural with attire. I like that question. Natural elements with attire? Okay. You, Emily had something.
This,
Just going back to ambiguity, like, would it be okay to ask a question about like who actually is writing to?
Who is it? Yeah. Who's it to?
Make your point that it's not clear.
Yeah. Yes.
Why does he have quotes on the final 2 things? If these delights that mind may move.
Great. So the quotations at the end?
Yeah.
Any other ones?
But the quotation at the end is from the people, the shepherd's wings, isn't it?
these delights that might
Because they're singing it.
I think you're right.
And he's
The
like,
shepherds are the ones that are singing it, right? But he's gotten the shepherds to sing it, right?
Why is shepherd singing?
Well, yeah, why would the shepherds be singing it? These delights thy mind may move, and live with me be my move.
See? Even you said it. It's just
Why would the shepherds sing that? That seems really odd,
It
right?
goes back to like Porta's question of like mix
so like,
up
oh,
with
he
nature.
Huh?
He's trying to romantically propose.
That would be pretty romantic, right? You go out into these nice little hills, and then a bunch of shepherds just like come out of nowhere and sing like
Oh,
sheep.
The sheep.
Sheepsies.
Sheepses.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Do you guys have any other questions?
What's my pen?
Do you have any other questions about this text?
Backwards.
Back up.
Until they interrupt.
Great.
Yes, you did. I was speaking. It goes back to like Porta's question of why does he use like nature thing? Like why do shepherds have to sing it? Why does the belt have to be made of straw?
Yeah. Why are the natural elements associated with things that are unnatural, right? They're not in nature. Okay. Ready to go through it?
Sigh.
So when I was reading through this poem, some of the things things that stuck out to me right away is the absence of the woman's voice, right? So she is not present at all. What was that? She's dead. Yeah.
It's like the stillborn.
So when there's an absence of her voice, that's means almost objectifying her, right? So she doesn't have her own voice. The very first line, the very first word, what does that imply? Come. What does that imply?
She is.
Come from
She's
wherever you
listening.
are.
Just come.
She's listening. Okay.
She, like,
So what is he doing? What is he?
He's ordering
What
you.
is he extending? What is he extending?
Invitation.
Invitation. He's
There.
extending invitation. Come live with me and be my love. It's not forceful, right? It's not forceful, which I think is very interesting. This is not, you're gonna live with me and be my
But he does the come live with me twice, and then at the end he's like, then live with me.
If these delights thy mind may move, then live with me and be my love. So it's still causal, right? That's what the shepherds are
Wait,
saying.
what stanza is that?
The very last one.
So she's, again, not forcing her.
There's,
not like
yeah, there's
tying
no,
her up.
right, there's no tying up. This is a very, just a very invitational one, right? Come live with me and be my love. Aww. Come live with me and be my love. And we all the pleasures, and we will all the pleasures prove. When I read that, it seems kind of sexual, right? Pleasures prove. But it's, at the same time, it's fairly innocent.
Sexual yet innocent.
Sexual but innocent is really what I have.
Sexually innocent.
Yes.
It's like
That valleys, groves, hills, and fields, woods or steepy mountain yields. So interesting, the pleasures are proving the valleys, the groves, the hills, and the fields, the woods and steepy mountain yields. Interesting. So it's proving nature, right? It's proving nature.
Proving nature what?
Proving nature.
Proving? What do you?
And then we go on to the next stanza. It says, and we will set on the rocks, seeing the shepherds feed their fields by shallow rivers, to whom falls melodious birds sing madrigals. So that little stanza right there, what is that referring to?
They'll be together.
Doing what?
Watching. Nothing. Nothing.
See it.
Yeah, okay, not working. These are all things of entertainment, right? It's the way that they'll be entertained. And how are they being entertained?
Other shepherds.
Birds feeding.
Okay, shepherds, what are other things?
Nature.
Nature, right? It's nature. Nature is what's entertaining now. But doesn't entertainment usually come from like the theater or like watching movies and things like that?
Not when you're a shepherd.
Not back then.
No, even back then, right? So you went to go see plays to be entertained, right? But
Not
we
a
don't.
shepherd.
But we don't. Right? We don't need to go see plays, right? We don't need to be entertained because we can just sit on the rocks and see the shepherds and go by the rivers and listen to the birds.
She's like, no.
I get a pretty dress.
We don't know her reply yet. We don't know her reply. She doesn't make a reply.
Does she even love him?
You should predict.
Sorry.
Is she
Sorry,
like
good job.
is she his
We'll
love?
get to it.
Is she his like is she his because he says come like whenever he mentions love he says be my love. It doesn't say anything about her loving him back or like them already being lovers.
Right, they're not. That's why he's asking her. Yeah.
So it's saying we don't need the theater.
Right, we
We
don't need,
only need each other.
we only need nature and each other to entertain us.
Oh
Yes.
my god, this is so
I'm glad you like this. Yeah, so much.
Your shirt's now.
So going on to the next one.
Go.
And I will make thee beds of roses, and 1,000 fragrant posies, a cap of flowers, and a kirtle, embroidered all with leaves of myrtle. Oh, it's so good, right? So then what is this? What is the essence of this stanza?
I will serve you and make you a pretty dress.
Right, so he's going to be doing the things for her. And what's he using to make all these things?
Nature.
He's using nature, right? This is something I don't know if it fits yet, but I think it's super interesting. So I'm just going to throw it in and then we're just going to skip it. So this entire poem is in iambic tetrameter, which means unstressed stress, but 4 times, except except there's one line that's not, and it's in the third stanza. It's the second line. It says, and I will make thee a bed of roses and 1,000 fragrant posies, right? It goes switches to trochaic really quick. And then it goes back. A cap of flowers and a curl embroidered all the leaves of myrtle. It goes back to the iambic. So that one line is trochaic, and I don't know why.
What?
And
And 1,000 fragrant posies.
1,000 is 2. And 1,000.
Fragrant posies, yeah. But you wouldn't say, and 1,000 fragrant posies, which is every other line, right? It's the opposite. So going back, iambic, really quick. Iambic is unstressed, stress, and then trochaic.
So it's
Trochaic is stress, unstressed. So only that one line is. Only it switches to the trochaic. I don't know why. And if you could read paper on why he's done that,
Maybe,
it'd be super good. Oh man. But I don't know.
maybe back then they did say, and 1,000 fragrant.
No.
Like,
No, it's-
That's how the cool kids talk these days.
Nice try.
Okay, moving on. A gown made of the finest wool, from which our pretty men do pull fair line slippers for the cold, with buckles of the purest gold. So what's changed here? What's different? Oh,
It's not so much nature.
it's not so much nature anymore, right? This is actually like processed manufactured goods, right? Manufactured goods.
technology.
I think you've nailed it, right? Buckles of gold from a shepherd? No way, no way. So what's being called into question then?
Is he really a shepherd?
Is he really a shepherd, right? If he can give her gold, and Fairline slippers, I don't think he's a shepherd. I don't think he's a
Oh,
shepherd.
snap.
And so, then the use of shepherd, if he's calling himself a passionate shepherd, what would be the point of doing that?
Supernatural.
I don't think it's supernatural.
Because he
But it-
shepherds her.
Maybe, I don't know, I don't want to get necessarily into that much. Pastoral is good.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a pastoral poem. At minimum, we can say, he wants to associate with the shepherds. That's why he's calling himself that. At minimum.
Write that down, you guys.
No, but
Let's go to the next one. A belt of straw and ivy buds with coral clasp and amber studs, and if these pleasures may be moved, come live with me and be my love.
Move.
And so, again, is that more of the, I think it's more of the previous stanza. Belts of straw and ivy buds, coral clasps and amber studs, more things that make you more and more riches, yes.
Yeah, when he talks about nature, he never asks her to come live with him. When he says, I'll give you pure gold and ivy and coral clasps and amber studs and come live with me.
Okay,
So he's like, we'll just be happy there, but I'll give you this to come.
so, right, so there's two ways that he's enticing her, right? What are the two ways he's enticing her?
Nature and gold.
Well, right, so we'll have fun in nature, but I'll give you gold.
You can wear your gold
Right.
earrings.
There's a little
in the fields.
Now, going back to your syllable stresses, this is another one. In the very last line of the fifth stanza, it says, "Come live with me," right? You wouldn't say, "Come live with me," and be
You said that was the only one. I wrote the only one.
No. So here it says, "Come live with me and be my love," right? So both "come" and "live" are stressed, right?
This isn't iambic or trochaic.
Correct. It's not. It's not either.
It is what?
So it's "come live with me and be my love." So it's stress, stress, unstressed, stress, unstressed, stress, unstressed, stress.
which
Right.
part?
Huh?
First or the first?
It's
part?
"come live with me and be my
Do
love."
you
And so when you have two stresses together, that's called spondee.
Stress.
Which stanza? The first.
Stress.
It's every time "come live with me and be my love." Every "come live with me and be my love" is "come live," right? Because the invitation is important. And I'm telling you the reason why he does this. The invitation is important, right? Come live with me and be my love. Right? It's not "come live with me and be my love." I don't care. No. There's an emphasis placed on this. There's emphasis placed on the invitation. And that's why he uses spondee in this instance. To emphasize his plea.
No.
Well, we about done
last one, right?
Yes.
The shepherd's swain shall dance and sing for thy delight each May morning, and if these delights thy mind may move, then live with me in my leave.
Very cool.
And so what is
He's
this?
saying the
What,
shepherds will dance for her every
Yes.
morning. That's a little.
yeah, so the shepherds are gonna be dancing for her. In what way could he make that happen?
He's really rich. He
He's
owns the
rich,
shepherd.
right?
He owns the shepherd.
He owns the shepherds, right? He owns the fields, he
He
pays
was-
them.
He was going undercover as a shepherd and being like, I'm English.
So what this emphasizes, that last stanza, is that he's a member of the gentry. He's extremely, what? He's rich. He's a rich man.
Member of the what?
He's a rich man.
How?
Member of the
He's
what?
rich.
The gentry. Gentry. Aristocracy is another.
He's a noble.
Rich.
Aristocracy. You stand for me right on the board. Kind of do this like.
Sometimes being attacked.
That's what he does.
So now we're gonna go, I'm gonna give you some context to the poem. And that's stuff you wouldn't know unless you do research, right? So what we've done is we've come up with a pretty good idea, just by looking at the poem, what it's about, right? So we've used only in-textual information to get a really good idea of what's being said. But there's some extra stuff, right? There's stuff that's outside the text, it's called context or understanding that. So, I don't know if you've ever heard of Ovid's Metamorphoses. Okay there? Ovid's Metamorphoses, which is, he wrote about a bunch of Greek myths. And one of the Greek myths he wrote about was Polyphemus and Galatea. And I don't know if you remember Polyphemus, but Polyphemus was the Cyclops that Odysseus slays, right? Or he doesn't slay him, I think he just pokes his eye or something like that, pokes his eye, right? And then they get out, and they hide underneath the bellies of cows, right, to escape from the Cyclops. Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember that story from
It's in the Percy Jackson ones.
But that doesn't matter, that's just all backstory. So in the story of Polyphemus and Galatea, Polyphemus is in love with Galatea.
Not in Louvre. In what? What was that?
In what? In the Louvre with Galatea. She is a very pretty nymph. But here's the thing. She's kind of into this other guy named Acid. And Acid is a shepherd. Acid is a shepherd. Right? Oh, so what is
was
he?
acid into?
Acid loves Galatea as well.
Oh.
So this is like love ace.
Go fix.
Have you?
So this is what Polyphemus does, is he gets a bunch of sheep, literally, and tries to flaunt them in front of Galatea to say, here's the thing, I've got a lot of sheep, I'm a cool guy too, right? And she doesn't take the bait, she doesn't like it. And
Because
because she's still into the other guy,
she's
right?
probably not obsessed with sheep either. That's just like her occupation.
Right, it's just his occupation. And so what ends up happening is Polyphemus kills Acid by throwing an entire boulder on him.
It's like
Yeah.
this, okay, you have a crush on this banker girl, right? It's like, let's throw all my money around and say, oh,
I
it's the
mean,
bait.
guys do, right? Like if you're into a girl, you just spend
You
your money.
crush the other guy with the
No, you spend your money.
Now I'm gonna flaunt my sheep.
So, how does that relate to this poem, right?
He's talking about him.
He's not really a shepherd, he's trying to draw the shepherd in.
Right, he's associating with shepherds, even though he's not, right? There's an association with shepherds, even though there's
She's
not.
into shepherds.
Yeah, I know.
And Galatea, I guess, too.
Because she lost her lover, yeah.
All Greek stories.
And also the idea that someone powerful is becoming someone less to do what?
To win her love.
To what?
Win her love.
To win the girl, right?
It's like the
To kiss the girl.
She's into shepherds.
Yes.
Like it. She's all girlfriend, doesn't like.
So that's the first part of the context. The second part of the context that you might not necessarily know is that a lot of these authors, or a lot of these poets around this time, so like Barlow, Shakespeare, Spencer, Raleigh, Donne, if you could name more, that'd be great. But so here's what they
Queen
did.
Elizabeth.
Queen Elizabeth. Here's what they did. they really liked to show off.
Uh,
They really liked to show
Of
off.
course.
And often, a lot of the poems were literally just them saying, here's what I can do with language. Check it out. I can make this entire poem about a Greek myth. Check it out. And I can make it so cool that I can tie natural elements into the
Okay,
manufactured
what
items,
space did you do
right?
You
that?
guys write this much.
Wait, is he directly
Check it
talking
out,
about
Titchborn didn't do that, he was just sad.
He didn't, that was the only poem he ever
You
wrote.
wrote more than
No, but
that.
it's so these really classic poets, right? And Marlowe was one of them. He's saying, check out what I can do.
I look
If all this is just him expressing how good of a poet he is, what does that mean about the audience? About who it's to?
There is no,
Just
Well,
competition.
Who is the audience?
Everyone else.
The
everyone.
person they're trying to
Other
The
poets.
people they're trying to impress, so which would actually be,
Shakespeare.
other poets, right? So the love in this poem is.
Somebody's trying, another poet!
No, it's not.
Oh,
It's so
good.
The love in this poem is.
General public.
Show up, language.
Himself.
No.
I think that's relevant.
A shepherd lady.
English.
poetry.
Doesn't exist. Is the,
Aww.
She doesn't
Are you
exist.
sure?
she doesn't
Are you
exist.
just guessing? Because I think there's a. Right.
And that would express what?
The ambiguity.
The ambiguity of the audience, right? There's no specific events in this. Why? Because she doesn't exist, right? He's just flaunting.
Wait, are you guessing who this is actually doing?
No, this is actually okay.
I just want to do speculation.
It's like.
Are you
Respecting his speculation or his.
Right, no, it's expressing the ambiguity of the
It's
audience.
like mainstream art.
Of the audience.
So that answers the question, who's it to, right? We've answered that question. I think we've answered. Excuse me? Excuse me? Yes? So I think we've answered the question, who's it to? I think we've answered why he's a shepherd, right?
And why was it written?
And why it was
To
written.
show off.
To show off.
See, there is a love of himself.
Some
in there.
poets are horrible.
There is a lot of himself. I don't know if we've necessarily answered this question yet. And then the quotations at the end, we also answered correct. We did that. Because it's the shepherd first.
I'm taking this over.
This is last period?
Yes, this is
We need a bio.
So you guys have like 10 minutes right now. What I want you guys to do is practice even more writing your introductory paragraphs. Because you need to do it. You need to know how to do really good.
Yay.
Yeah.
Mr. Garland's the funnest teacher. He teaches us good Englishes.
Thank you.
So remember in our introductory paragraphs, what we want to do is state the question, right? State the question that we're trying to answer.
Can you give us a question like you did last time?
Oh man, that was.
I will argue that he's trying to talk about a snowboard. She pulled it off last time.
We did.
But not this poem. maybe.
So I want you guys to find a question, something that's really interesting to answer.
Any love poem. Who is it to?
Right.
Yeah, you can do that one. You can slip it up.
To impress.
Who is he?
And then again, you want to answer the question in your thesis statement. So first present it, then answer it, and then do your thesis map. Tell me, do the outline, give the reasons why it proves it in the introductory paragraph, because you'll explain it later. Okay. So these paragraphs we'll go over then in the next class. Great job. We're going to go over them in the next class. Talk about the thesis statement and then if the outline matches. Right now, I'm giving you the poem The Man of Life Upright by Thomas Campion. I want that to be read twice, and then go through the first time for comprehension, the second time for the things that stand out. And so that'll be the homework. So finishing this right now, as well as reading the poem, that'll be the homework for tomorrow. And then, just for extra, going beyond, this is the nymph's reply to the shepherd, which is actually written by Sir Walter Raleigh. Yeah. So he had, and which shows you that they did like to show off to each other. It's the reply to the shepherd.
Man.
No, it's the nymph, right? So
Speaking of
the right, so it's the response. So Christopher Marlowe wrote this poem about a shepherd talking to
He
a
does
lady.
it too.
And
And this is-
move.
and this is- And this is the nymph's reply back.
Oh,
So,
he writes it like the same.
if you want to read, let's read it out loud right now. Let's read it out loud. Emily, if you'd like to start.
This is like,
I got you. If all the world in love were young, and truth were every shepherd's tongue, these pretty pleasures might be moved to live with thee and be thy love.
Time drives the flocks from field to fold, where rivers rage and rocks flow and fill them around to cometh down the rescue plains of Pierce.
the flowers to fade with mountain fields to wait of winter reckoning years. A honey tongue, heart to thrall, these fancies string and sorrows fall.
The gowns, O come, thy shoes, thy bed of beds of roses, thy cap, thy kirtle, and thy posies, soon break, soon wither, soon forget, in folly ripe with season robber.
That belt of straw and ivy buds, that coral clasp and amber studs, all these in me no means can move to come to thee and be thy love.
But could you glass and love still breathe, have joys no date nor age no need, and these delights my mind might move to live with thee and be thy love.
Ouch! Zinga! So I'll see you guys tomorrow.